Hello YouTube, welcome to my channel, and today I'm going to be reviewing James Gunn's new Superman film. So let's get to the review now. James Gunn's Superman is 2 hours and 9 minutes long. It is a 12A in the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. It also isn't an origin story like Man of Steel or Superman 1 with Christopher Reeve. It is a Superman story whilst he is Superman, but it's early days because he's only been dating Lois for 3 months. So it's, yes, he's done the origin bit and now he's doing his Superman bit, which is excellent. We do get to meet Hawk Girl from the other city that's next to Metropolis, and obviously Green Lantern. My love for Green Lantern is so well known that actually he's one of my least favourite superheroes. Sorry, Green Lantern, but he's played wonderfully by Nathan Flynn, who does it tongue-in-cheek. I love the tongue-in-cheekness of it. I'm loving the cloth. As a fellow of the cloth, I'm loving the bowl cut. It just made me tickle my funny bone. I'm British, I get the tongue-in-cheek stuff. James Gunn does two things really well. One, he gets that campiness that comic books should have, that, you know, you can take it a little not seriously and still get away with it. I'm also loving his fight scenes. They were very relatable, they were very moving, it worked. I loved that. I also love the inclusion of the children and how they were used, because children and Superman have always gone together. And I felt that, yes, it's a 12A, but actually there were some really good moments where Superman interacted with children. I thought that was wonderfully done. It was nicely balanced. There was stuff for the adults, stuff for the kids. It was a grounded superhero movie, which sounds really strange. On to Nicholas, good old Nicholas from About a Boy fame. He plays Lex Luthor and he plays him really, really well. In fact, I had flashbacks to Michael Rosenbaum from Smallville. Loved his portrayal of Lex. He was the best Lex ever. What I really like about this Lex is, yes, there are some Elon Musk-isms, you know, with the monkeys, with the chips in the brain and controlling the media and all of this. But what I really liked about this Lex was his loathing of metahumans. The fact that Superman's alienness really got to him. We haven't actually seen that expressed on screen as vehemently as Nicholas has done it. I appreciate that it's come up, like, you know, in the DC cartoon between Amanda Waller and Lex Luthor from time to time, you know, when he's in his Iron Man suit. But I really liked the fact that this Lex, you got the loathing, you got the fact that he was a billionaire tech dude, you got the fact that he had Luthor Corp. I was going to say Lex Corp, but that's from Smallville. Luthor Corp going. But you also got the fact that he was really clever and he was into science with the black holes. Spoiler warning, there will be spoilers. I love the fact that they allowed all those facets of Lex Luthor's psyche to be seen properly. He isn't just this bumbling super criminal, you know, this super villain that's bumbling criminal that we have had in the past. Cough, cough, Lois and Clark with Dean. Lois and Superman with Dean Cain. You know, it allowed him to be Lex Luthor, which is the bold guy who controls the pieces and knows his board. I'm loving the fact that he created his own little prison for people that wrote bad reviews about him and he stuffed them there. It just shows his pettiness and the fact of his domination and his desire to control and basically be a modern Alexander the Great. I loved the fact that you could see it in Nicholas's performance. Admittedly, this Superman, the new guy, I enjoyed his performance, but I did feel that he was a very young Superman. It's not an origin story, it's like set just after that. So what I did feel during his fight scenes, I was like, oh, I wish you'd met Wonder Woman, then she would have taught you strategic planning. Because one of the wonderful things about Wonder Woman is her Amazon training. You always see her when she goes to a battle, she has a plan. She works with others seamlessly. Her and Bruce Wayne get on really well because they plan before they go. Superman doesn't have to do that because he thinks, I've got all this strength, I'll just go and it'll be all right. And very often it isn't, because he's not done war planning. And that's because he's not been taught war planning, because he doesn't necessarily need it. And I love the fact that in the Pocket Universe they had to, you know, create something that was sunlight but not sunlight. I'm loving the fact that we had extra metahumans. I'm loving the fact that this just felt like me reading the comic book. I love the fact that his Martha and Jonathan Kent were old and spoke with a Texan accent, because they were old. They adopted him not as young people like they did in Smallville, you know, where they aged them down, but they were actually elderly people that adopted Clark Kent. I mean, Kal-El. I'm going to get to that whole mess because there's stuff around that made me go, now you're just throwing diss at Jor-El for reasons because you don't like the kryptonite ways or the Krypton ways of domination and, you know, General Zod, and you want to get that out. You want to make him more human because then it makes everybody feel better, particularly with what's going on in America and ICE and immigration and all of that. But it's worth pointing out that Clark Kent, aka Superman, JL, Kal-El, that's his name, see, I remember, is actually an alien from another world. It's one of the reasons why Batman fought him, because he was like, this is an alien, he's dangerous. It's one of the reasons why Lex Luthor is doing it. He's an alien, he's dangerous. We don't know. I can't trust the message from his birth parents, and neither should you, even though Lex Luthor may or may not have translated it incorrectly. Who knows? But that the first part is lovely. The second part, we don't know what it is because it was damaged. So even with the supposed translation by Lex Luthor, I still wouldn't trust Lex Luthor's translation because it might have translated it incorrectly, because does any human speak Krypton? No, we don't. And Clark doesn't either, so he doesn't know. So dissing his birth parents is kind of a sly way of putting the Kryptons in their place. But I love the fact we got to see the dog. It's the first time we've ever seen the live action dog, and seeing his cousin, and seeing the robots that are supposed to support him in the, you know, Solitude Palace, Fortress of Solitude. Loved that. Love that. I love the fact that we didn't know everything about Lex, that the story was allowed to unfold with his plan. Loved that. I loved Eve with her selfies, because she was clearly like, you know, in all of them, she was like pointing to stuff behind her or going like this. And you could see that she wasn't being dumb. She was getting the information out. It's just that people weren't looking beyond the surface. Don't look at her. Look at what she's showing you. I loved that. I love the fact that basically Perry White kind of cottoned on that actually Clark Kent was Superman, because he wasn't in the spaceship that Clark Kent / Superman had arranged to put all the stuff of the Daily Planet in. I loved that. There were several things. Also, the Belle Reeve link with Lex Luthor going to Belle Reeve because he hooks up with Amanda Waller. They do become lovers. That is a thing. I love the fact that that was hinted at. Sorry if it's a spoiler. It felt like I was reading a Superman comic, like episode, like comic 8. That's where we were at, you know. And it really did feel that. 5 out of 5 for me. I loved it. I thought it was on pace. The music was beautiful. It combined the beautiful guitar stuff from Man of Steel, the Harry Cavill Superman theme, with the Christopher Reeve Superman theme, and it's just fused into this loveliness. I'm also loving the bright colour palette for the superheroes and the cloth. I loved that. I love the fact they brought back the primary colours and made them like campy, because that's still tongue-in-cheek. Because if you look at the original Batman or even the original Superman live action, it is campy. It is funny. They're walking around literally carrying bombs, running, going, this bomb's going to go off. I'm going to just chuck it down here. You know, it goes back to the 1960s where you've got, you know, Captain Kirk lifting these clearly polythene boulders and chucking them over Spock, going, get out of the way, Spock, we've got to get rid of this boulder and it's going to hurt somebody. You know, it brings that fun element, that humour, which grounds the whole story. It's like, yeah, we know it's not real, but we're going to just suspend our disbelief, our unbelief to believe, and that will guide us through. And I'm loving the fact that they did that. Love the dog. But I didn't like the fact that they didn't explain how they got the electrodes out of the poor dog's head afterwards. I'm loving the fact they freed those poor monkeys. Yes, I did get that there was some Elon Musk, you know, tropes in there with Lex Luthor, as there should be. Why should a billionaire control what everybody thinks and does? It's not fair. It's not right. They've just got one vote just like everybody else. You know, just because you own like a social media platform doesn't necessarily give you the right to influence people's voting en masse. People can say, I vote this way or I vote that way on their social media, and that's fine. But if you're not the official party like social media, should you really be doing it? You know, I mean, who knows? But obviously if you're a member of that political party, it's different, or a candidate, it's different. But if you are like a controlling CEO that's basically owns a social media platform, should you sway people in such ways, or should you be neutral and allow life to unfold? Moving swiftly on. Overall, 5 out of 5 for me. I really enjoyed this movie. I thought it was fun. I thought it was serious. I thought it was actually rather humorous. and it gave him a lot of humanity to Superman. He made him relatable, because Superman does come across a bit like the big blue scout, big blue boy scout, as the Joker calls him, which is understandable, because how can you be that naive? And it goes back to, he doesn't have any diplomatic training, he doesn't have any war strategy training, whereas Wonder Woman does. And I love the fact that when you go and see Diana, she's obviously conserving some ancient artifact, that she knows its provenance, she knows where it is, she knows where she is in her own place and time. Yes, there are issues around, you know, Zeus being her dad that haven't been revealed to her for obvious reasons, but it's the fact that she understands and she waits. And I like the fact that Christopher Reeve, this film has made me appreciate Christopher Reeve's performance even more, because he looked like a mature adult as Superman. So you could see that he would weigh up the situation, then speak. Dean Cain did that in Lois and Superman. And Terry Hatcher, he did that as well before acting. That there's always this moment where Superman goes in and he weighs everything up, and then laser eyes will come on. And it's partly to do with the effects, but it's actually allowing him to enter the space. This Superman didn't. I mean, yes, we did have him standing in the way like this, blocking Lex Luthor from escaping out of the portal. But then he was like, where's the dog? But then again, people do, in the words of Hagrid, people do get very upset regarding their pets. And I think that people are like, oh, he was going in and trashing stuff up. And I'm like, no, this dog is really important. He's a link to home, like his birth planet. It's basically an alien dog. What are they doing with that dog? Because if they damage the dog, they can damage his cousin, they can damage him. And that dog is precious. It's a precious gift from his birth parents. Give it back. Don't be mean. So yeah, 5 out of 5 for me. I've babbled enough. It's an excellent movie. Do check it out, even if it is 2 hours and 9 minutes long. The music was beautiful. They fused the John Williams theme with the Man of Steel theme. So you've got the electric guitar, but you've still got the beautiful trumpets. And in fact, in places, it's basically the John Williams theme refreshed, refurbed. It's like somebody's wiped the dust off it and reorganised it, and it's beautiful. The music makes this movie. I'm loving the fact that it's a bit campy, because it means that you could easily insert Batman into this Superman universe, easily insert anybody else. I'm loving the fact that we had Hawkgirl represented for the first time. Yes, with Green Lantern and with whatever that other guy is. I'm really sorry, I don't know that one's name. But this is the first time I've ever seen it in live action, so give me a break. 5 out of 5 from me. Yeah, my review's done. Bye-bye. I hope you enjoyed my review of James Gunn's Superman, the new film that's out now. Go and see it. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and do click the notification bell for my latest video. Bye!